So this is the news from the United Kingdom. It was reported that hundreds of foreign prison officers were about to be dismissed and deported until the government stepped in at the last minute. They didn't just step in because they needed them to stay. They didn't just beg them to stay because they wanted to. They begged them to stay because they needed to. But you were told that immigrants are stealing jobs. But these are the jobs they are stealing. The ones that if they walk away, everything collapses. Now, let's take a listen.
Some breaking news to bring you now, and Sky News understands that hundreds of foreign prison staff who could have faced deportation and the sack have been offered an emergency extension to their visas. That's in order to stop what we believe is the prison system from collapsing. So Sky News understands hundreds of foreign prison staff have been given an extension to their visas in order to stop the prison service from collapsing. Now, just to give you a bit of context to this, the changes to visa rules made in July, as you know, on that crackdown on immigration, meant thousands of prison staff, many of them apparently from Nigeria, had faced deportation once their visas expired. But approaches to the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, which had previously failed to succeed, have now gained an agreement to temporarily extend some of those visas by a year. Now, apparently the public sector prisons, a lot of them are forced to hire foreign staff because of shortages of British applications. It's believed around 2,500 people would have been impacted. That's according to our reporting and what we understand, with many in front-facing prison officer roles. That means they will hundreds of them will be exempt for at least 12 months. So
this story is not just about visas. It's about a system that pretends to be tough on immigration while quietly surviving on migrant labor. But just to mention that these workers were already on legal visas while working in UK prisons. But many of those visas were expiring. Some were tied to specific employers, and some no longer met updated immigration thresholds. And to be clear, this wasn't targeted at prisons. It was a general UK immigration policy catching up with a critical service that the policy never planned for. So it is policy misfired. Don't forget that the UK raised minimum salary requirements for visa renewals. And because of that, most employers can't afford to raise pay. They can't even offer sponsorship because this is tied to salary threshold. So prison officers are public sector workers with fixed pay bands. Many no longer met the thresholds even when they are still needed. That alone should tell you something everybody needs to know. Because for years, immigration policy has been sold to the public as control, reduction, and taking back borders. But behind closed doors, the same government has designed critical services such as the prisons, care homes, hospitals around workers it keeps legally insecure. So when locals don't want the job, maybe because of the danger, the underpay, it is emotionally draining. The system doesn't ask, why are people leaving? It doesn't raise wages. It doesn't even improve conditions. What it does is it imports labor. And once the labor is inside the system, it becomes politically convenient to threaten them. Prison workers deal with a lot. Many British workers have walked away from that reality. And so immigrants step into that gap, not because it is easy, but because it is available. And now look at the contradiction. On one side, the policy is saying you're temporary, you're replaceable, you can be removed. On the other side, the reality says if you leave, everything falls apart. You cannot keep telling people go home while building a country that cannot function without them. This story is not a breaking news, it's just a mirror of our society. Unfortunately, many of these are said to be Nigerians, but let's just picture this generally. People who wake up every day, put on a uniform and walk into danger, knowing the system only needs them for now. So, how do you give your best to a job that has already scheduled your exit? At the end of the day, a system that treats people as temporary tools will never get permanent commitment. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.